Hey.
That is a disgusting act by Randy Moss.
He did what?
Jackpot, baby!
Ice up, son. Ice up.
That is blasphemous.
You can put it on the board. Yes.
The Pac-12 has not exactly had a great go of it the past 5 years or so. And Utah and Oregon this year were looked at entering the season as the top teams of the Pac-12. And, Utah and Oregon, they had a pretty good season last year, and Oregon has been historically good as a football team. Like, their football program has been historically good. You think of Oregon, and you think of good football and tons of different uniforms. So this year, Utah was ranked in the top 10, Oregon was ranked in the top 15, and Oregon was going to play Georgia to start the season, and Utah was going to play Florida in the swamp, on the road. A tough environment to play, right? So how did that all go down, you might ask? Well, Utah, when it's all said and done, they lose by 3 points to Florida, and Oregon gets absolutely embarrassed by Georgia. And that has me asking a few questions and had me wondering some things and had me looking back at the past when it comes to the Pac-12 football. I'm wondering if the Pac-12 isn't the future of the Pac-12, I should say. I wonder if it's not hanging in the balance. Because we've already heard that UCLA and USC are jumping ship for the Big Ten in a few years. And when you think of the Pac-12, you really think of... at least I do. I think of UCLA and USC along with, Oregon, right? I think those are the top 3 teams that really come to mind when you think of the Pac-12. And looking at past years for the Pac-12 in terms of football, they've had some good teams, right? Talking about top 25 in terms of good teams in the past few years. But they have not had that championship contending team, I want to say, since the Marcus Mariota Oregon days. Last year, Oregon and Utah were both 10-4. Good records, you'll take that, right? And they both came up short, however, in the big spot against top 10 teams. 2019-20, Oregon finished 5th in the polls, meaning that the committee felt they were not, they lacked whatever it took to be a top 4 team. They just didn't have the it factor in order to be a playoff team, and they ultimately fell just short of the playoffs. Utah was 11-3 that year. That's a pretty good record. You'll take that. But the big theme was a weak strength of schedule. That theme has continued over the past 5 years. The 2018-19 season, Washington State had a great year record-wise. Stanford, Washington, USC had great records in the year prior as well. The weak strength of schedule has been a plaguing factor for Pac-12 teams, however, right? Because you get that conference schedule, right, where you really only play 1 or 2 good teams, right? Because every year there have been up to 3, I'll say, top 25 teams in the Pac-12. Whether it's been Oregon, Stanford, USC, Washington State, Arizona State a couple times, Utah. It's not like the SEC, however, where you have, SEC/Big Ten, however, where you have 4 to 5 top 25 teams in any given year. It's usually more hovering around that 2 to 3 mark. So you get, you're going to get to play that other 1 or 2 teams in your conference slate. And then your non-conference slate, your 4 games that you play non-conference-wise, you usually will play 2 games that are winnable / easy cupcake games to win, right? And then you'll play 1 or 2 games against a good team, right? Which we saw to start the year for Oregon and Utah, and they both lost. They both lost. And Utah lost a close game, right? That's respectable. You at least stayed in the game. And Oregon just looked like they didn't even belong on the same football field as Georgia. Now, Utah was, again, they were ranked 7th, a top 10 team entering the season. They lost on the road in a tough environment, I will give you that. However, they lost on the road to an unranked Florida team. If you want to be a team at the end of the season that the committee looks at and says this team, truly has the top 4 playoff team quality, right? They truly exhibit what it means to be a college football playoff team. If you want to be that team, right? If you want to be in the semifinal and you want to be in the field of 4 in the playoffs, I don't care if it's Florida, LSU, Penn State. I don't care what difficult environment you're going to play in on the road. If you are a top 10 team, you absolutely have to go on the road and take care of business. That's what top 10 teams do. That is what teams that play in the college football semifinals do. They go on the road and they take care of business against unranked teams, whether it's a tough environment or not. That is just the fact of the matter. If you want to be looked at as a championship contender, that is a game you must win for Utah. As for Oregon, a top 15 team entering the season, like I said, they didn't even look like they belonged on the same football field as Georgia. And Georgia was a top, they're a good team, right? They are a team that, very well could be in the college football playoff at the end of the season. So I respect that. I get that. And that's not a game that I'm looking at for Oregon and saying, you got to win that game. Because I understand you're not always going to win that game. But they couldn't even stay competitive. They couldn't even keep it close. I mean, they got laughed at. I mean, they got blown out of the stadium. And if you're going to be a top 15 team, if you're playing another top tier team, if you're playing an elite team, you have to stay in the game. You have to at least be competitive. Because I've seen unranked teams play Georgia better than Oregon did this past week. And if you can't even give your team a fighting chance against another top team, that is not good, I'll just say. And I look at Oregon after that game, and who knows, maybe Georgia's just going to be some absolute monster team this year. That could happen, but I don't know. I'm not too, of course I would like to see more before I say anything like that. So I think for Georgia, that is a great win, of course. But for Oregon, that is, to say the least, that's embarrassing. And that has me wondering, is the Pac-12, because right now in the past, we've had Washington as the last Pac-12 team to make the college football playoff. And I believe the only Pac-12 team to make the playoff. Because did Oregon make it in that one year, in the first year or so? I'll have to look that up. But anyway, you get the point. It has been few and far between for Pac-12 teams making the college football playoff. And the Pac-12 has been looked at as a relatively weak conference in terms of college football the past 5 years. And with UCLA and USC already saying, yeah, we're out of here, man, that has me wondering what this could possibly look like for the future of college football.